Today we're going to work on showing you how I do my water system as far as city water whenever I'm hooked to a camper. This is what's worked out well for me, and I just want to show you a quick how-to on this if you haven't worked with it. And so we're going to go over it step by step of how I do the system. First is what I have on here. Currently I have a 100-foot hose, and I have this really flexible, called Flexzilla, and it's something that you can buy online. I don't know if Amazon sells it, but I got mine at Walmart. It comes in two different types, different sizes too. I have a 1/2 inch, and there's the Flexzilla brand there. And you'll find this is really nice because it really spools up nice. Now they have two different kinds. They have the quick disconnects, and they also have just a standard hose. The standard hose is good because you can kind of put all these connections on, not have to worry about as much. If you add something to it, it's not that big of a deal. This one here, you'd have to do a few more things to add another hose links on there. But I'm going to show you how I got it set up here. Now, I have what they call an elbow on here. This takes some of the stress off of this, and I recommend you put an elbow here right before you go into the camper. That way it doesn't pull so hard. I had one hose on here, it pulled so hard it actually kind of bent this plastic out. So it's good to have that elbow in there. If you did have a water filter, you'd also have a water filter right here at this particular point. But I don't have a water filter, so I'm going to show you this end, and then I'll show you my other end. Now this is the end that would normally go to your spigot at your campsite, but I'm doing this at the house because I'm just checking out my hoses for the season. So what I have here is I actually have my pressure regulator right here before the hose connection. Some people will put that down on the camper end, but my logic there is I don't want as much least amount of pressure as possible on this line. If it's only 50 psi or less, then I don't have to worry about this hose rupturing. So I'd rather put it at this end instead of the other end. That way I have a lower pressure throughout my hose. So that pressure regulator is very important. Now the pressure regulator, like I say, it reduces that down between 40 and 50 psi. And the reason that's important, I'm looking in this little cargo section, and this is some of the hoses that are running into my camper. And if you notice, they're all different types. There's PEX connectors, there's these flexible hose connectors, and they're really not rated for high pressure. So that's your main reason for using that pressure regulator. I would suggest you always do that because you never know what that pressure coming off that hydrant is going to be, and you just don't want to overload your system and your camper because it's just not built that well, and you will have a leak eventually. So that's something I highly recommend. So what I do every year before the season starts, which I'm actually gone 2 camping trips already, but what I'm doing here is I'm actually making sure I have these quick disconnect setups here. I'll show you how they work. They just unsnap here like so. The thing about this is this needs to be clamped down where you have tools to do this. So what I'm going to do now is use 11/16 wrench on the shaft part here, which is a little bit loose, and then I'm going to use my channel locks to tighten this up nice and tight. So some of the things I'm looking at when I'm inspecting these, I want to make sure this O-ring around here is good, and it doesn't have any dents in it or anything. Another thing I want to look at is my attachment point here. I want to make sure this rubber seal in here is in good shape. So like I say, we're going to go ahead and thread these through and get them good and tight. That way they'll be ready for the year, and I'll show you how I hook these up once I get everything going. That way you don't have all these fittings leaking and everything. And like I say, you don't have to use these quick disconnects. Sometimes they're kind of a pain, but my hose just came that way. You can buy this hose either in the quick disconnect or the non, and it has a little bit of an advantage, but it has some disadvantages as well. So got that all hooked up there. It's good and snug. I'm going to do some leak checks on it when I hook it up. So over here on the other connection, which is my pressure regulator, it's a pretty simple on this. You don't have to need any wrenches, you just want it good and snug. Again, I'm going to take this apart, look at that O-ring inside of here. It's in good shape. Go ahead and close this off here. Just good and snug on there. And then on your pressure regulator side, I'm going to look also on this other side, make sure that O-ring's in good shape as well. So the nice thing about these quick disconnects is when I'm hooking this up to here, I don't have to wrestle around this hose. What I do here is try to get where you can see that is I just disconnect it like this, and then I just thread this into here, get it good and snug, turn it out a little bit like that. That way that disconnect can go on there. So I'll go ahead and hook that up now. So the main thing is it should go in real easy. If it's hard, then you might be cross threading, so you want to make sure that's threaded in real nice until it snugs up. Kind of give it a little turn at the end, and that one should be ready to go. Now some of you may have a water filter that goes in between. It'll go right here at the end here. It'll go in this section right here. If you had a water filter, you'd put this section down here and you'd have that water filter. I don't use a water filter on mine, but if that's what you did, then you could have that actually already threaded on as well. And this is your other end, pressure regulator on it. Say it's real simple with these quick disconnects because you just thread this piece on, not have to worry about the hose being in your way. Make that good and snug. And I'm doing this at my house, but this is normally done on the spigot at the campground, so I'm just testing this stuff out. So again, once you get that done, you just take this quick disconnect, snap it in, and you're ready to go. So again, on this side, same thing. You got your setup here. Snap it in, ready to go. I do want to show you that when you're running city water, you don't need this pump at all. Make sure your pump is turned off. You only need that if you're running from your water tank. So you don't need that at all when you're running from city water. So I have all my hoses pressurized, and you see by me using that channel lock, so I got everything snugged up where there's no leakage on that at all. This is the one that would come from the hydrant. I'm going to check the one over here at the camper. No leakage over here at the one at the camper. Nice and dry the way we want it. And what I'll do is now is I'm going to show you what you do with this hose when you get done, because what happens is you take this hose, when you disconnect all this, you'll never get all that water out there. So you have to have some kind of storage for that hose. So I'm going to show you what I do on my camper, and it works out pretty good. And we'll have to work out something for your camper, because you don't want that line just sitting in your camper. And if you can throw it in the back of your truck, maybe that'd work out okay, but I'll show you what I do to keep water out of my camper with this hose. So what you'll see there is I have my 100-foot hose there, and I actually have additional 25-foot. And this is the crate. I just have a Rubbermaid container. It's called the Tough Neck Rubbermaid, and I'm not sure what the gallon is on that, but that fits out where you can put that hose in there. And of course you have to have a place to put this. In our case, in the FD, you got all this area underneath the sofa couch, but in some places you have a pass-through, or even worst case scenario, you could take this whole bin and just set it in the floor in your RV. Like I say, it just has a lid that goes on top, and we get to the campsite and there's usually some water down the bottom of that, and we let it dry out, but that works out really well. So that's about all I have for this. This is a quick how-to on the water system on the city water. And I hope this helped you out in when you go camping. And if you have any comments, just leave them below in the comments, and I'll put the links in there for some of the stuff that I've got as far as the pressure regulator, gooseneck set up there, and also the hose. That's all I have, and we'll see you again on another one of these videos.